All right, first step that you need to understand before you even start, okay, is that you have this wonderful thing, and I'm sorry, I have to draw dark. I always forget that you guys can't see sometimes. You have this thing called the skull, okay, and that skull, okay, on top of that, you have muscle, you have, and of course, I'm doing this in a more comical kind of fashion, okay? Now, the skull is what's underneath all of us, the flesh, the muscles, the capillaries, you name it, okay? Now, on top of that, you have to, reason why I talk about this is because, let's say inside this area, what happens is that you have that eyeball, and then the eyeball on top of that, you have skin that rests on top of the eyeball per se, okay? So you'll have, actually, let me draw it with a darker pencil, maybe, okay. You have this on top of that bowl-like form, okay? That's the skin, but reason why I talk about it is because this is coming out to you, so it's light. This is going back in space, so it gets dark. This lid area is light. This area here gets dark. This gets light. This gets dark. So the reason why I talk about it is so you understand the form itself and what happens with the shade and value as you work, okay? Now, so that's the first thing. Second thing that you have to understand is the shapes, okay? Everything is broken down into shapes. That's usually the way you start. Then on top of that, you have, like I told you, the skin that lays on top. Next step, one side is curved, the other side is pointed, so you put that in. Next step after that, there is a thickness in the eye, in the skin, and sometimes you'll see just a cusp of that skin showing in the upper eye, maybe depending upon also the position of the eye, okay? And then you'll also find two concentric circles, okay? Now, that's, you could say, the basic form per se. Now, the next thing after that is then you start in with your lights and darks. So then I'll think about what's going back in space, what's coming out to me, okay? So you go about adding in your shade, adding in your value. And, you know, if I was painting, I would be doing the same thing. I would be using my darker value now, hitting that edge, making it go back. Now I'm going to start fading it as I come closer. Same thing here. All this area here is darker because it's going back into space. So that's
Ms.
all.
Shafter, I have a question.
Yes.
I know you said for the painters, like, you prefer if we would not do it with a pencil, so can you do an example where you do the eye, the nose?
Yes, of course.
Without...
Okay, didn't you hear me? Didn't you hear me? I told you I was going to work with pencil first, and then I was going to go ahead and paint, okay? Reason I'm starting off with pencil because I have beginning levels, okay? So bear with me, it will happen. Okay, now, you add in the other details. Usually I'll use lines or I'll use shade or value to define it. But then again, this is the same thing as that bowl-like form, nothing different. And then, you know, you'll have shadow in the eye too that you got to look for. Usually in the eye, it's not white itself. It's usually a lighter gray shade just along the edges where the eyelid kind of falls on top of that, okay? This area here, you might see a little bit of skin just in that little wee area there. Sorry that it's, okay. Now, the next shade or color, like this would be my student whom you're starting off with just regular pencil. Then let's say you want to bump it up a notch and now let's say you're working in color. So now let's say I could go into my brown tones in this darker skin tone in this case because I did start off with black. So now I'm going to go into a darker skin tone. So I'll add the brown. Brown is the is the next shade I could add in. Or I could, if you want to have fun, work with blue if you want to. Work with the color schemes if you want to. The analogous, the complementary. And then also know that brown is in the red family. So in the darker areas besides black, you could also add in purple. You could add in blue to make it darker. All right, so now that's right there, just, you know, using those two shades. And then if I want to, I would bump it up with some orange and I would bump it up with some yellow, let's say. So in my lighter area, I'll go ahead and pop a little bit of that orange. And all of a sudden, you know, it's starting to take a little bit more shape, a little bit more form is adding in. And I could, you know, I could go crazy. I'm sorry, it's so hard to do this to the point, because I got to demonstrate and I have to do it in a way where you guys could understand the parts that make up the whole. So in some way you kind of get shortchanged. These construction lines are so dark, it'd be kind of nice to have those construction lines a little lighter. Now after that you could add on, you know, the lashes and things. But I'll tell you, honestly, lashes don't show very much. Lashes are usually, they group in threes and they come from that little skin part just inside that area. That's about it, you know, that's as far as it goes. Now that's just with this eye form. You'll see it on the YouTube video. It's a little bit better looking. For some reason on this camera, it doesn't do it justice. I apologize. All right, now that's just with the eye. Now, I'm going to demonstrate a nose, two different forms of noses with color pencil, and then I'm going to switch over to paint, okay? Now, the next one, I'm going to go ahead and switch up my colors now. And the usual shape or the start of it is that you start with a triangle, then you work with three, you could say spheres or elliptical shapes. Then you think about what's going back, what's coming out to you. You think about the ball-like form, the lights and the darks of the ball shape form itself, the reflective light, if you want. Yes.
I can barely see the drawing. It's so light.
I know. I'm sorry, guys. It looks better in the video, I promise you. I feel so bad that you can't see it. And can I tell you, I'm zoomed up as much as I can. Stinks. Okay. So, anyway, watch the video again, okay? This goes back, so it gets darker. This goes back, it gets darker. This is also darker. Then the nose form, the nostrils. You know, then of course you're going to use other shades. You know, just don't stick with one shade. Here I'm going to add in some brown. I'm going to add in brown to make it a little bit darker so you could possibly see it. Oh, online. Sorry. It's either this or I stand up and teach. And if I stand up and teach, I don't know where to put the darn camera, and I'm going to be moving. And I don't know, guys. Best I could do online. I'm sorry. And what I'll do is I'll put the video up, so at least that way you could see it a bit better. And I'll tell you what, I'll bring it up to the camera after I'm done too. Maybe that might help, so you guys can see it a bit better. I'm getting another camera, so you know. It's in the mail, it's coming, and I can't wait till it gets here, because then I'll have a better camera, and you'll see color a bit better too. Who the heck is at my door? All right, darn, and they come at the time that I'm demonstrating. That's not good. All right, so that's a basic form for the nose. Give me just 1 second. I'm gonna get this person in, and I gotta put my mask on. Ay, ay, ay. Somebody's at my door. Hi.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
Need to take care of the-
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Did the tile light come out?
No, not at all.
I'll put it back.
That's okay.
I'm gonna change the,
All right, so the nose, as I just mentioned, this is more of like the round form of it. Oh, hold on, let me do a spotlight, guys. I'm sorry. Forgive me that I was distracted there. Oh, okay, wait, let me spotlight it. Do you guys see it a bit better, maybe? Does it look better on that camera?
I can see it now.
Okay, I'm sorry. And then my eye, okay, so forgive me. On the camera, other camera, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on with it. Very frustrating. All right, now, the other kind of nose, okay, is more of a boxy kind of nose, you could say. It kind of starts off with that same triangular form. Should I draw in pen so you guys can see better? I don't know. Okay, well, we'll continue with this. Now, the next one, like I said, starts off a little boxy. So it's kind of like one of those perky noses that are kind of up in the air. And play with the noses. You know, go ahead and do different types of noses. If you want to, like I said, look up images to help you of noses so that way you can pretty much draw any kind of nose. And if you want, like I said to one student, you could go around the house and just take pictures of everybody's noses and mouths and use those.
Don't they go thinking that you're weird for doing that?
So, sorry? Say it again?
I think that you're weird for taking pictures of their noses
Hey.
and ask about it.
Yo, you don't know what I've done to my family members. I had my family members pose in so many of my drawings and paintings. It's funny. Yeah, I've used their noses, I've used their mouths, I've used everything. My family has been very cooperative. All right, so now getting a little darker in those areas, pushing and pulling, working with the shape and shade and form, thinking of the, of the things that go out, the things that go back in space, working with the lights and the darks. Put in your lights and darks. Can't wait to get that new camera, guys. I'm sorry. It's coming. It is on its way. I did order it, and I'm just waiting. It's going to be a camera just like the one that's on the computer. So now, basically this upright type of nose. Okay, this little pointier nose than normal. And then you could add in other shades. In this case, it's orange. And work with the orange, keep the white alone. Areas that are raised, the highlight areas, leave them alone. That's the only area that I'll let you get away with using the white of the paper, okay? The areas that are darker, you'll go ahead and add in those shades of the purple or the brown or the black in this case, to add more volume and shape and form, okay? Now, another thing too with my painters, you could do grisaille if you want. You could start off with the black and white and then pop glazes right up on top. That'll make your life so much easier. Don't forget about things that I've been teaching you. Use them, don't forget, because they will come in handy, I promise. That's that indentation that happens, not a mustache, please forgive me. But that's that indentation that happens just underneath the nose area. Just in that little area right there. All right, so roughly, that's kind of like what it looks like, okay, to help you out there. All right, so two forms of noses, the more bowl shape form, like I said, or the more pointier kind of nose, and the eye, okay? Now, for my painters, okay, pay attention. Here we go. Now, give me a second. Let me just switch over to, let me grab some water, and I'll use my water. And I got a thick brush, so I might paint a bit bigger. And have fun, like I said. Try different types of skin tones. Try different kinds of a of color schemes. I'll tell you what, I'll start off with the same shade. And let's say this eye thing, okay, this round form. And you know, my painters, you say, oh no, I gotta paint first. Yes, please paint first. I want you to paint. You're a painter, you paint. Don't draw. And do the construction lines really light. And trick, okay. And then add up with the shape and the form now. Shape and form. Shape and form, things that go back in space are dark, things that come out to you get light. I'm using just one color right now, okay? Using the orange very lightly. I'm getting a little bit darker, just along those edge areas, okay? Now I'll get into a brown tone. Let me get some water, a little bit of brown, and now get into the darker tone. And try to, you're gonna have to work slow though. You're gonna have to work little at a time, especially if you're doing the watercolor. I'd recommend highly that you work with glazes, okay? And please make sure the paper that you're working on can take watercolor. This particular paper is not really good with watercolor. It's not very absorbent, okay? But I mean, you could get the same effect, like I said, with a little bit of skin that shows in that area. Maybe come in with a darker value just here and just here, just to emphasize that light shade, that skin that kind of folds back. Another thing too, in the eye, it's never really white. It's more of a gray tone in the eye. It's never usually just white. And we can get into more shade and value using the shadow. And you might want to hit up that little area. There's usually a little bit of pinkness here, just in that area here, okay? That's where that tissue lies, where the tear duct is, usually up in that area. So it's kind of right there. And I reserve black for kind of like the end, you know, don't do too much with it. Keep it basic, and try to add in the black towards the end. Please don't outline. Like I said, shape, value, form, please, lights to darks, constantly be thinking of these things. Unless, you know, there's wrinkles or crinkles or things that you have to work with, then put those in. Find pictures, look at a subject. That's what I would recommend. You know, try to find an image that you would like to work with, and try to mimic what you see to your best ability, okay? That's my recommendation as you work. And use the analogous colors. Try to make sure that you're using the analogous tones. You're working with your lights and your darks to get what you need. Okay. And then, like, if you wanted to, towards the end, if you want, you could add in the little lashes, like I said. Not necessary, but if you want to, you can. Normally, you don't paint lashes. Very rarely do you see lashes on a person from a distance. It's kind of rare. But you could add them in if you want to, if you see them. If you see them, draw them. If you don't see them, then forget it. And they usually come from this inner part here. And they group up in threes, usually. So that's what I'd kind of work with. So how many eyes are you going to be doing? Is you're going to be doing at least 9 eyes, like I said, okay? And then with the noses, the same thing, Yamani, okay? Nothing different. Noses, the same thing, same triangle form, and do your construction lines real light. And like I said, please don't be afraid to paint, my painters. Please, I'm begging you. The sooner and faster you get away from that pencil, I promise you, the better painter you're going to be, okay? If somebody had told me that when I was younger, I think, man, I might be the next Bouguereau by now. But that's why I'm telling you that, so that way you guys are the next Bouguereau, okay? I want to make sure my kids are dropping that pencil and they're painting, okay? Because without that, guys, I promise. I mean, if you constantly gravitate to that pencil, you're not going to get the experience with the paint like you should. You're always going to wind up gravitating to the pencil. It'll be like your security blanket. So the sooner and faster you get away from doing that, the better it is for you, okay? Oops, that went a little too bright. That's okay. We're having fun. Yeah, if you want to extremely get into some shades and values here, you can. Have fun with it, but, you know, try to keep it as light to dark as you can and as close to, you know, the reality as you can. And another thing too, you know, play with color if you want to. If you don't want to do pink noses or flesh tone noses, have fun. Maybe do blue, green, purple noses. Have fun with it, because it's practice, okay? And I'm sure you're going to be doing this, good heavens, from now all the way to your college years. If you have to paint the figure, this is what they're going to be teaching you to do. They're going to be asking you to do. Okay. Any questions? Questions? Okay, so we got...
Are you going to do the ears and the mouth?
No, sweetheart, not today. Today I'm just doing the eyes and the noses. The next class I'll do the others, okay? That'd be too much in one day, especially for the beginner babes. All right, so any questions thus far? Questions? All right, so ladies and gents, that's it. And like I said, 9 eyes, 9 noses. And that's all you have to be concerned with today and the next class, okay? Any questions? Questions?
So when we do our noses, we do the triangle, and then we do the 3 circles that's inside the triangle.
Yeah, that's how you start it off. Okay, that's usually the form that one has. Like I'm trying to teach you. See, if you're a beginner, there's so many shapes in the nose, guys. We could go on and find more. We could break it down to no end. But like even under here, there's literally a section that, like if we were to analyze it even further, okay, underneath here, there's a whole section of darkness that's under the nose, okay? There's this whole area here, just like this. This whole area here is usually all dark, okay? And this is usually round. Yes.
Can you do a nose facing forward?
Facing, this is the nose facing forward. Hello.
I mean, to the side, excuse
To
me.
the side, sure, of course I can. Now, any questions in regards with my beginner babes? Any questions? Questions? All right, the side view is pretty easy. That's a standard one. Sorry I'm going so dark with it, but roughly you would have something kind of like that. It would start off. Now, if we were to analyze the shape of here's the circle, okay? Here's that triangular form, and this is upright a bit. So you're gonna wind up like just under here is what's gonna happen. This whole area is gonna get dark. This also area is going to be dark, but not as dark as here. This should be the darkest. And just right about there, just like just under the nose area, that's going to be even darker, okay? And you won't see too much of like the nostril will be like right there, okay? That would be nostril. And my recommendation, just paint the background because that highlight area will then show. You won't need to really emphasize too much. Just that right there, kind of, I just made up a nose, boom, in a few strokes, okay? I could go on for a bit more, but roughly what I just did right there, I did my side, you know, I just quickly made the form as you saw. And it's like a triangle with, let's say, a box form here. If we were like to analyze it all, but everybody's nose too is different. And this is a round kind of form, okay? If we were to sit there and scrutinize what I kind of just did there, I literally did this. That's what I did in that area, okay? That's basic what I did. And then all I did was think what's going back. Anything that's going back, I went a little darker, okay? And then did I worry about, oh my God, you know, the light? And I just went ahead and I did the darkness, and that made the bridge of the nose, okay? Let me bring it a little closer so you can see it a bit better, I hope. Get it? Yes, no? Hello, hello? Yes, no, Yamani? Hello? Talk to me?
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now what I would do, okay? So,